Hello there, everyone, and welcome to GamePoints episode 264. Your weekly get together, we talk about recent gaming news. As always, your host, Stephen Brown, and joining me today is...
David.
Tonight, David. Starfield's looking to be exclusive to Xbox, which shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. NVIDIA attempts to limit crypto mining, which isn't going to work, and Google flat out lies to our faces. But first, I want everyone here to know this is an audience interactive podcast. So if you're watching us live here at Twitch TV/GamePoints or later over at YouTube.com/GamePointsPC, feel free to join the conversation with any questions, comments, concerns, etc. you might have. Just try to keep them germane to the topics on hand. And of course, if you want to support the show, you know what creators want with likes, follows, bits, and all that good stuff. David, how has your weekend been? And did you ever finally get a chance to play Returnal at all?
Considering the fact that I don't have a PS5, I'm going to go with no.
Yeah, but
I have
you
not
know
played
people. You might have gone somewhere. You might have been at someone's house.
Returnal. No, I have not gone to your house to play Returnal, if
Am I
that's what you're asking me.
Am I literally the only one in our entire circle of friends that actually has a PS5 right now?
And that game that I'm aware of.
Okay. I didn't know. I figured someone might have had it.
That lives in this state.
Fair enough. I figured someone might have had it somewhere. You might have been able to play it, but I guess not. That's not really part of what I wanted to get into. I just was bringing it up because I was curious what you've been playing.
Nothing, really.
Okay.
I've been watching movies.
It's a good way
Playing
to pass
Valheim.
the time. I know. If I see in Valheim all the time, I got kind of like a crash. Go ahead.
Can't stop.
Yeah, I got a crash course in what goes on with it from a mutual friend of ours that kind of broke down what some of the mechanics were. And I kind of want to get into it, but that also strikes me as a game that really does require other people to be playing with you to get the most out of it. And as you and I have both talked multiple times, by the time I am able to actually play a game like that, everyone is asleep already.
That's fair. I mean, you could technically play it by yourself, and there's also the fact that it's early access, so you wouldn't want to play it anyway.
That's true. I do shy away from most early access games. There are a few exceptions.
For like a year.
Yeah. There are a few exceptions, Satisfactory being one of them. Subnautica Below Zero is one of them for a bit. Baldur's Gate a little bit, but for the most part, I do try to keep away from the early access stuff until the game is fully launched, because I don't want to keep playing the same thing over and over again when a new patch comes out.
That's fair.
David, let's go ahead and move on to the news of the week, starting with the first one, and probably the one that got the most buzz. Oh, wait, actually, hold on. I want to mention this real quick.
Okay.
I am not ignorant to the events that are going on with IGN and the editorial takedown of a donation link regarding other world events going on right now. I am not going to cover that on this show because it ties in directly to active conflict that is going on at the moment. And I would feel really ghoulish about doing a channel that has a chance of getting money off of things that are happening in the Middle East at the moment. After a couple weeks, if things kind of cool down, we will revisit that topic. But I am aware of the IGN stuff that's going on. I'm aware of the GameStop stuff that's going on, and the Game Informer stuff that's going on. So don't think that I just didn't see what is arguably the biggest story in games, at least games media, going on right now. But I try to keep the show a little bit more lighthearted as far as... I'm already angry enough at a lot of video game stuff. I don't need to add in real world problems into it. Does that sound fair?
Basically, we're not trying to base the entire show around getting people to click on the show.
Yeah. So I just wanted to mention, yes, I don't know if you're aware of it, but I know I am, and I am deliberately making the editorial decision not to cover it, but I will address it going into it.
I have both eyes and ears.
Yeah. I'm just not... At the end of the day, I don't have the preparedness to talk about that subject because it will deviate into the actual conflict that's going on. There's no way to avoid it.
Weren't you down to talk about it?
Yeah, flat out. I could come in with a shit ton of information, but it's not going to fit into a nice, pithy little 5 or 10 minute story. So I'm not going to wade into it, but we are aware of it. Hey, Perfect Pixels, it's going very well. Thank you for showing up. So anyways, now that that is out of the way, let's get into the other news that's happened over the past week, starting with the fact that it seems that Bethesda Starfield is going to be exclusive to Xbox and PC, or at least so it is claimed. And once again, this should surprise no one. This story comes from Video Game Chronicle, from the story itself. According to GamesBeat journalist Jeff Grubb, who wrote on Friday, Starfield is exclusive to Xbox and PC, period. That is me confirming that. Speaking in a live stream video, the prominent games industry reporter went on to state that he believed the title will appear at E3 next month and likely release in 2022. And that is the extent of what everyone is talking about on Starfield this week, other than a couple of concept art shots that leaked, but really no real information on
the
the
biggest surprise of this entire story, 2022. Don't expect that to be a real date.
No, actually, I thought this game might come out in 2021. If I would have bet money on it, I thought they were going to do with Starfield what they did with Skyrim, and they announce it, and then a couple months later it comes out. I thought that's what they were going to go with this. However, I would imagine that the acquisition by Microsoft kind of pushed stuff back a little bit for Bethesda. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. Gives them some, because you have to now suddenly reallocate. You have an influx of resources coming in. You can do a little bit more with the marketing because you now have Microsoft money being thrown at you. So I can imagine it launching in 2022. Additionally, you have Halo the big release at the end of this year for allegedly for Microsoft. They probably wouldn't want two giant juggernauts taking up.
They don't want to compete with themselves, basically, considering they now own Bethesda. They're not EA.
If Jeff Grubb says it, I'm willing to take this as gospel. He tends to he legitimately knows people on the inside. He has leaked things before that have been accurate. I am willing to bet that this is true. I will say the one caveat is that while he is saying that it is exclusive to Xbox and PC, that does not rule out a timed console exclusivity, which is what I still think is going to happen. That is, it releases first on Xbox and then a year later migrates toward Sony consoles.
I can see that.
Do you have anything that you wanted to add to this, David? Because people seem to be salty about this, but this shouldn't be a surprise.
I mean, it's not, because we already knew that anything that had exclusive rights already attached to it was going to remain exclusive, because there's...
Deathloop, for example, is the one that
Deathloop is going to be on PlayStation. But they bought Bethesda for a reason.
Yeah.
Now, this does tie back to the fact that I don't believe that they are going to keep it exclusive, which you already mentioned, because it makes no sense for them to leave money on the table. Skyrim is on everything, including refrigerators. They're going to release their next game on every damn thing, including refrigerators. But they want your money in the Microsoft camp first, then it'll go everywhere else. That's just the logical step. I highly doubt that this will only ever be on Xbox and PC.
Same here. I just have Here's the thing that kind of pulls me back a little bit from that, though, is that you don't have Halo or Gears of War on Sony consoles. You don't have Forza on Sony consoles. But something specifically about Starfield makes me think that it's a timed exclusive, but we will see. I will say, however, though, that do not expect to see this on Sony consoles for sure at launch.
I wouldn't expect it in 2022. But I also don't expect
the game in 2022, though, either.
I really don't.
It's going to be real interesting E3, because we're going to essentially have 2 years of missed announcements that everyone's going to start catching up on because COVID just knocked everything out. So, and it's not like the Summer Games Fest, much love to Jeff Keighley, it's not like Summer's Game Fest really lit the fire on industry rumors and news, and there wasn't even an E3 at all last year. So I get the feeling that you have people with a whole bunch of stuff loaded in the can, and they are going...
Yeah,
this
it's
has
the
the
same projects they were going to show last year, but now they can actually show it because they've made progress.
Yes, in addition to the stuff that was supposed to be shown this year originally. I think you're going to get a real banger of a year on E3, and it's all digital now. Hopefully it's slickly produced. We will see come, 3 weeks now? 2 weeks now?
Yeah, I guess, huh?
Yeah, that reminds me. We need to do our predictions in the next couple of days. I know everyone does the predictions show. I know it's tired and hackneyed, but I like to think that we make wild predictions sometimes, and we'll see how it shakes out.
Man, I have to think some up because I have nothing off the top of my head.
David, why don't you go ahead and take the next story here, because this ties in directly to something that I think is actually going to get announced at E3.
Yeah, so this is from a fun source. This is actually from Steven Totillo on Twitter, who was the former... he was the
EIC
something of TikToker.
Yeah, it was the EIC. I think he was the EIC.
Editor-in-chief, as it were. Nintendo Switch rumors. So This is all relating to some of the Microsoft or some documents that came up in the Epic versus Apple lawsuit ongoing.
A fun
Between
lawsuit, by the way. All a treasure trove of information being dropped
yeah,
from that lawsuit. If
more than
you're
actually
willing
getting
to
any
go
kind
through it
of
all.
resolution to what's going on, we're just learning a bunch of stuff about all of the people that these two companies talk to, which is super fun for us. So there seems to be some deals between Microsoft and Nintendo, according to redacted Epic v Apple documents. Nintendo says these portions of an Xbox Biz Dev exec's deposition in Epic v Apple reflect competitively sensitive information about negotiations between Nintendo and Microsoft. She was primarily disposed about trying to bring xCloud to iOS and more broadly discuss the console business, which doesn't mean a lot until you sit and think, why would Microsoft be talking to
I
Nintendo
am
about xCloud unless they had something that they wanted to put xCloud on?
I am telling you right now, I have been saying this for weeks, if not months at this point. You are going to see Game Pass on the Nintendo Switch. Now, I could be wrong.
Still seems impossible, but there you go. This also could be part of more Switch Pro rumors, which we hear about, that maybe it's going to only be on the Pro version, and that's a selling point of the Pro over the regular, and who knows? It's all speculation. It's all hearsay. It's a heavily redacted document, so take all of this with a grain of salt, because the only people that actually know what the hell's going on are the lawyers that read the original documents in the first place.
Right. I'm trying to double check something here. Does Smash Brothers still have extra characters they're announcing with, or are they fully released their roster at this point?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I have not turned on Smash Brothers in probably a year.
Yeah, it's same here. I couldn't, so I'm gonna back off of that. But I can feel it. I feel it in my balls, David.
Okay.
That Game Pass is going to make its way on Switch. I have heard too much off the record shit. I have seen too many rumors from somewhat reliable sources that point to this, but no one can get a straight answer because it seems to be really, really under lock and key. And there are people actively trying to chip away at this wall of science to find out. But I would be shocked if it wasn't. Let's put it that way. But I can't say for certain. What do you think? What's your stance on the viability of that?
You know me, I'm a pessimist. I don't think it's going to happen, but if it does happen, awesome. Game Pass is great.
All right.
And we've discussed the fact that this console generation, Microsoft is more interested in getting you to subscribe to Game Pass than it is to actually sell you anything.
Absolutely.
Because they want you spending recurring money in their ecosystem.
Why do they want
you can buy an Xbox for a couple $100 and that's all they get off of you? No, screw that. They want to get that little chunk of change every month for the next forever from as many people as humanly possible.
They want you to get it, and they want you to forget that it actually costs something.
Yep.
I'm convinced that a good third of people who have Netflix, for example, forget that they get charged a month on Netflix.
Yeah, probably.
They just think it's free and like going to YouTube at this point. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case, but yeah, they definitely.
I'm sure there's a couple people. But I'm acutely aware of when people take money from me, so
yes, that's why I said a third, because we're the 2/3.
Yeah, I gotcha.
But yeah, that's definitely something I think is going on. Hey there, Finest One Gaming, good to see you. Welcome back to the channel, David. There was this article in Wired once again from some bigwigs from Sony side of things. Jim Ryan's interviewed, Herman Holst is interviewed. For some reason, Sony and Wired just talk to each other, which is weird because Wired always struck me more as a tech magazine and for PCs and not like a console magazine. But I guess they're trying to change that.
They just like technology.
It just seems
the biggest thing
weird.
Is they don't really talk to Sony about games, right? They're talking about hardware.
I guess.
For the most part.
I guess. But there's a big write-up. The link will be provided down below. But I wanted to get into a couple things, specifically two things I was able to glean from this article. It's kind of a fascinating read, by the way. The article itself is called "The PlayStation 5 is starting to look like the revolution it promised." Take that for what you will. But there were two bits of this that I wanted to gather from this. One was a quote from Sony Interactive Entertainment CEO Jim Ryan about the console shortages. And he says that, quote, "We're working as hard as we can to ameliorate the situation. We see production ramping up over the summer and certainly into the second half of the year. And we would hope to see some sort of return to normality in terms of the balance between supply and demand during that period, end quote. That's him kind of saying, yeah, we, like everyone else, is having issues with the semiconductor shortage that's hitting everything from consoles to
every
phones
single technology
to
you can think of.
cars. And it seems like he's not so subtly saying we don't expect this problem to be fixed until 2022.
Although he's like, oh yeah, we're gonna ramp it and we'll see how it goes in the second half of the year. But
Remember,
he's not openly admitting, hey, guess what? You're not gonna see this shit till 2022.
Remember,
which a lot of people are.
Remember, we have two maxims on the show, David. One is don't pre-order.
Yes.
Two is if it was good news, a company would say it outright.
Yep. We have 3 million more units coming next month. Or I don't know. If some hard information would be, yes, we've got this covered. The kind of wishy-washy, oh, we're gonna keep ramping up production. Okay, yeah, we assumed you've been doing that this whole time. So you're going to ramp all the way up to the amount of semiconductors that you can get to manufacture your hardware.
Right. If he had like a hard source where he knew for a fact the shortage would be over by 2021, he would have said, we will have enough consoles by the end of 2021 to fix this. Finest One Gaming says a semiconductor plant blew up and won't get rebuilt for like a year. I didn't know that. Finest One, if you can tell me where that was located at, please. I didn't know that. Master Trustin, good night.
That stuff was never really built to scale that well. If you get into how they actually process that and the manufacturing, there's not a lot of it, and it's not really made to scale well. So
I know that the PlayStation 5 itself, from what let me phrase. I don't want to say I know. I have heard that the PlayStation 5 itself is undergoing a redesign, not because of any tech enhancements, but because they're trying to get the same power out of a smaller chip. Because when they make semiconductors, they're on one giant board.
I've heard those rumors as well, that they're trying to streamline production so that they don't have to use as much.
Yeah, so they're trying to get a smaller semiconductor in there so they can get more out of the same board that goes through the manufacturing process. So that's how extreme this shortage is that you have redesigns happening not for cost, not for power reasons, but just for supply constraint.
Yeah.
Because R&D is not cheap.
Nope.
So that is definitely something interesting to hear Sony themselves also say, hey, we're being hit with this as well. I think they were the only one that had yet to actively weigh in on the semiconductor thing. I'm not positive on that, though.
But they mentioned during the article as well that the PS5 is, one of the best-selling consoles.
Yeah, I think it's outselling PlayStation 4 at the current comparison rate. Like if you line up their both release schedule, I think PlayStation 5 sold more.
Release to date timeline, it is destroying it.
Let's see. The other part of this Wired interview, by the way, so Master Chasson, we're talking about a Wired interview that just came out to catch up what's going on. The other part of this Wired interview I want to mention was specifically Herman Holst. He is now the head of PlayStation Studios. I believe he is the guy that replaced Shuhei Yoshida in his clear, in my opinion, demotion. But because we'll talk about the Sony Civil War another day. But Herman Holst, he was the head of Guerrilla, by the way. This is the guy who helped oversee the design of Horizon Zero Dawn and all the other stuff that Guerrilla did. He's actively in Death Stranding as a character.
Why not, dude?
He came out and said that there are more than 25 games in development for the PlayStation 5. Half of those are new IP. Cool. Show them.
Yeah. Basically.
Sony and Microsoft, I don't want to leave Microsoft out of this, and Nintendo. All three of the major publishers have this thing going on where they say games are being developed, but they're not talking about any of them.
Yeah, now, we know of a couple.
Yeah.
For Sony, right? We know God of War and Horizon Zero Dawn. We know of a couple for Microsoft because we know there's new Forza. We know there's Halo. Nintendo is supposedly working on a Metroid game, but we've known that information for quite a long time now.
When was the last time one of the big three had a new announcement of anything?
I'm going to go back to 2019.
Yeah, because
when those 5 projects I mentioned were talked about for the first time.
Right. I will fully admit it does not help that COVID screwed the entire industry for a year to 18 months.
It put a big pause on the year, right? Time stopped.
But there are new consoles out. there are the new Xbox, there's new PlayStations. Nintendo might have a new Switch coming up. That's still in the weird
But
rumor area.
they're on their own schedule anyway. They're doing their own stuff, so
We need new information. You can't just keep telling us that, hey, there are 25 games in development, or we have 15 games coming out soon, or THQ Nordic with their 80 active development studios and whatever the hell they're doing.
yeah. Also, the 25 games doesn't mean anything to me if you don't specify. We've got 25 games in development from first-party studios, or from what? I mean, is this just counting everything? Like you said, THQ Nordic has a bunch of projects in the work. Is it 25? Well, let's see. We can just probably add up the yearly EA franchises, the yearly Activision franchises, and we'll probably get pretty close.
I believe, and once I could be wrong on this, but I believe that this quote was clarified later on, as in Herman Holst saying that it's 25 games that are from Sony itself.
See,
so these would be first-party games. That does not mean 25 first-party games in a year. That means that is they could have just started working on something that won't see light day until 2025. Master Trapson says 15 games on the playing deck, 5 launched if we are lucky. Yeah, that's another thing to consider as well too. Is that games get canceled? Let us not forget what that Star Wars game Visceral was working on that apparently was close to being finished, and then EA just.
I mean, we talk about a whole bunch of Star Wars projects. I mean, there's the Amy Hennig one, there's 1313, there's whatever else, right?
Exactly. So games can get whacked. Just because they say they have 25 games development doesn't mean we'll see 25 games. Furthermore, of those 25 games, how many of them are going to be something that's just very like small and minute? And don't get me wrong, I love small stuff every now and then. But when they say 25 games development, people don't think the small things like Astrobot Adventure. They always think Killzone. They always think God of War. They always
where's the PS5 version of Little Big Planet? Come on.
More than half of new IP, though, so that means at least, or no more than, rather, 13 of them would be old IP. With any luck, Sony will reach deep back into its catalog. Maybe we'll see an Ape Escape. Maybe, God forbid, we'll see Colony Wars again. I don't think we're going to. You can also count off things like the show. Sony still develops MLB The Show. That will be a yearly project, so you can count that off. You can assume there's a Gran Turismo coming. We already know about Horizon, and we already know about God of War. So you can whittle this list down quite a bit. But the point I wanted to make all this before I got off on this tangent is they need to start, everyone needs to start giving us reasons to own these consoles. And they have neither Sony nor Microsoft have done that. And Nintendo has been woefully silent about the future of the Switch for a while. And I get COVID happened. I get that fucked everything up. I also get that we're in that weird dead time before an E3. Because E3, as we said, was only a couple weeks away. And people like to save their stuff.
They don't like to talk. So this is normally when we're struggling for news. It's just, it's a weird time of year.
But if this E3 turns out to be a dud, you're going to have a massive knock-on effect on these other publishers unless they do their own thing. Yep. So we'll see. Master Trapson says, Paradox did that too with Imperator recently. Froze it to redirect developers to either salvage EU4's DLC fiasco or to guarantee Heart of Iron 4's plan of DLC is going to be flawless, or to plan Victoria 3. He is referring to the cancel a game or cancel plans for a game and reshuffle your teams elsewhere. Yeah, everyone does it. Everyone's guilty of it. And the bigger a studio you are, the more it seems to happen. Take a look at Activision right now, for example. Activision is essentially taking all of their other studios like Toys for Bob and...
everybody works on Call of Duty now.
I can't remember those studios specifically.
We had that whole story, 2 weeks ago?
Everybody
works on Call of Duty now.
So yeah, let me know if I'm off base here, by the way. I could just be making mountains out of molehills, but it really does feel like it has been a very long time since we have had any big major game announcement. And I'm not talking your smaller.
There's nothing to chew on. There's nothing to be excited about.
Yeah, and what is out there, we haven't heard from in a while. When was the last time you heard anything about Horizon Zero Dawn Forbidden West, or even God of War? Let's keep it on the PlayStation thing. And these are two games that are supposed to come out this year.
Supposedly.
Yeah.
Although we've heard tons of rumors that we're only going to see Horizon and the other one's going to go to the next year. But we'll see where that goes.
David, why don't you go ahead and lead us here off on our next topic here. This falls more to your wheelhouse. If we've established I'm the software guy, you're the hardware guy.
All right, well, let's read some bullshit out loud to people in a blog post from NVIDIA itself, a further step to getting GeForce cards into the hands of gamers.
Which also reminds me, this goes directly to one of your predictions of this year.
So, for those unaware, or if you're like a console gamer and you don't pay a bunch of attention to the PC space, NVIDIA and AMD released new graphics cards towards the end of last year that are impossible to buy because a lot of them are scooped up originally because of we've got the semiconductor shortage and we've got a bunch of people mining Ethereum, which the graphics cards are really, really good at. So
not just Ethereum, by the way, but any kind of crypto.
Yeah, that's true. But that's the common one, and I'm just going to leave it at that. I don't care enough to get into minutia.
Yeah, fair enough. We don't need to get into the crypto stuff.
I'm blanketing it, all right? Ethereum is the only crypto as far as this topic is concerned. So these cards are very good at it. They all got sold out basically instantly because people just had bots, and anytime they get restocked, they're gone. They're going for 3-4 times their actual MSRP online if you try and buy one, which sucks if you're trying to build a gaming PC because it is completely impossible to do so at this point.
The wildest thing I can say is my 1080, which I bought years ago, still sells at a cost higher than I paid for it brand new.
Yes, it is insane. That all being said, in the recent blog post from NVIDIA, they announced to help get GeForce GPUs into the hands of gamers, we announced in February that all GeForce RTX 3060 graphics cards shipped with a reduced Ethereum hash rate. So basically, they had put a limiter on the card so that if it detected that you were using it for mining, it would automatically throttle the thing down to basically half of its speed, reducing your effective mining rate. Except for the fact that they almost immediately, accidentally, released a dev firmware build onto their own website that you could download that promptly removed the limiter. So that lasted all of 3 days before it didn't matter and all the 3060s were gone. Anyway, continuing with the blog post. Today, we're taking additional measures by applying a reduced ETH hash rate to newly manufactured GeForce RTX 3080, 3070, and 3060 Ti graphics cards. These cards will start shipping in late May. Because these GPUs originally launched with a full hash rate, we want to ensure that customers know exactly what they're getting when they buy GeForce products. To help with this, our GeForce partners are labeling the new cards with a light hash rate, or LHR identifier, which will be on the box. The reduced hash rate only applies to newly manufactured cards with the LHR identifier and not to cards already purchased. So, to sum up, they're going to try the limiter thing again. Now, before the 3060 came out, we both made a prediction that I think is absolutely true and will continue to be so, that yes, I'm aware of the fact that you're trying to build a limiter in your graphics cards, but you can't release a product to people who won't immediately hack it and do whatever the hell they want. So they're probably all still just going to end up in the hands of miners. Now, if everything works as they say it does, then these new cards, hopefully, just completely throttle mining, and they suck for crypto miners, and that means the gamers can actually have a card that they can buy that's spec'd specifically towards them, which would make me super excited, because damn do I need a new graphics card. I just am so pessimistic that they're going to pull this off correctly, considering the last time they tried it, they released the firmware that took the limiter off. They did it themselves. It wasn't like an accidental thing or it got leaked or it got hacked. They publicly released it.
So, chat's asking if these new mining codes could be adapted for gaming, which I find kind of funny. But NVIDIA is apparently working on a card that's solely meant for crypto mining. We'll see if that comes out with as bad as the semiconductor shortage is going on. But that was in the cards for a bit here.
Yeah, they're supposed to be the mining only ones that are way better at mining and bad at gaming, and they don't have all the extra features that you would need for gaming in the first place. But it doesn't matter because if people can't buy them, they're just going to buy the gaming ones anyway.
This is one of those things, David, that sounds good in theory, but in practice won't change a goddamn thing. Because as long as
on paper, this is a delightful press release.
In reality, this shit's already been hacked.
Yeah,
there are already workarounds.
I'm on a 900 series card, and per my prediction at the beginning of the year, I will be for some time now.
Any software solution can and will be subverted. And that's just how it goes. It's the exact same problem when a company tries to put in anti-piracy software. It's going to potentially affect people that don't know what they're doing, but it will do nothing to alleviate the problem they say they're putting it in there for. Because all it takes is someone with enough time to figure out a way to get around it. And then once one person does it, everyone does it. So, yeah, this is great. This sounds smart on paper. In reality, this is going to do nothing. This is one of those things that is solely designed to be a PR maneuver on NVIDIA's part. Now, hey, good on them. At least it shows they're trying. But at the end of the day, it's not going to do anything here. So, let's take a look at chat here. Finest One Gaming is saying, Taiwan makes a lot of chips, and they're having an extreme drought. Making chips requires a lot of water. A fire struck a chip facility in Japan earlier in October, while an unseasonably cold snap in Texas also temporarily shut down the plants there. And of course, COVID. Yeah, even if it wasn't for those problems, there'll still be a shortage. But the factories themselves are getting hit hard. I did not know about the drought in Taiwan. That directly affects TSM, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing, which is one of the bigger ones. The cold snap in Texas, I believe, would affect NVIDIA. I think NVIDIA has most of their plants in Texas. I'm not positive on that. And as far as links, you can either go through Discord. Our Discord link is provided down below, and you can put them there. Or if you're live, respond to what I just put in chat, and you'll send it to me directly because I have links turned off for chat. It will block it. So yes, Master Trevor says, a string of unfortunate things happen right now, and we're on the brink of a chip crisis. Oh, that crisis is already here. We have been in a chip crisis for a while. I am hearing the best estimates say it is going to be late 2022 by the time the chip crisis, as it were, is resolved. So expect another 18 months of growing electronics prices on top of worldwide inflation. Have fun with that, baby.
And my 900 series graphics card.
David, we've got a couple more stories coming up here. A lot of this stuff is going to be based on like quarterly reports that came out. I swear I'm not
favorite thing.
I am not going to bombard you with a shit ton of numbers. I'm trying not to do that unless it's a really dead day.
He's lying. He fucking loves numbers.
There are a couple of things that I want to mention. And first of all, this first one right here, this is something that I have railed against for years, and I will mention it every time it happens. But Tencent, a company that you are right to fear, grows even bigger after they've acquired 3.8% of Remedy Entertainment. Now,
3.8%? Will someone just please think of the children?
Remedy Entertainment, by the way, is the company that makes Alan Wake, Control. They did the first Max Payne's, Quantum Break. I love Remedy. I love Remedy so much. And I hate that a company that I do not trust, Tencent, is getting more tendrils into places that I love.
Dipping their toes, as it were.
Tencent is terrifying, and you should be afraid of them. You are right to fear Tencent. Next up, from Game World Observer, there is a rumor that Devolver Digital will be going public at a valuation of up to $1.4 billion.
$1 billion.
Now, from the article, according to Telegraph, Devolver Digital has appointed bankers from Zeus Capital for a possible deal which could help it float on the London Stock Exchange. The company is expected to go public by the end of 2021. Devolver Digital, special place in both our hearts, I think. They tend to be very irreverent. If you see a game published by them, there's usually a sign of quality behind it, regardless if you actually like the genre or not. And go them, I guess, for going public. Kind of something I didn't expect from Devolver. Also, $1.4 billion. It just shows you how much of a steal Sony got Insomniac for when that studio sold.
Oh, yeah.
It is fascinating. David, I'm going to knock through this next one. You can have the one where companies straight up lied to our face after that. How's that sound?
All right, that sounds fine.
All right. Also, we had the quarterly results, the full year financial results, rather, for Take-Two drop. This article comes via IGN. Once again, all links to our stories will be provided either in Discord or down below in the information section if you're watching this on YouTube. To the IGN article. With its full year financial results today, publisher Take-Two Interactive announced plans to release a total of 21 games between now and the end of its fiscal year, March 2022. Unfortunately, it looks like none of these will be Grand Theft Auto 6.
Well,
As an aside, we've already gone back and forth about GTA 6, David. Take-Two has no incentive to make it. They make, what was, I think
they
read recently.
print money with Grand Theft Auto Online.
I think I read recently that GTA 5 has sold like 145 million copies.
It is the most successful piece of media in the history of time.
And it is still bringing down huge, huge dollars. It's like Steam and Half-Life 3, or Valve and Half-Life 3, for example. You want to know why Half-Life 3 doesn't exist? Because they have no incentive to make it, because Valve makes all its money off of Steam. Same thing here. Why interrupt the cash cow that is Grand Theft Auto 5? Because as long as Grand Theft Auto 5 prints money, you don't want to stop that machine and replace. You don't want to fix what's not broke. But
yes,
between now and 2022, 21 games. Per Take-Two's own analysis, 4 of these games are immersive core releases, whatever that means. You have to assume that means like your big AAA budget stuff. So think your Grand Theft Auto-ish equivalent, Red Dead Redemption equivalent, Borderlands equivalent, things like that. 2 of them for new franchises, and 2 of them from existing franchises. And one of them, Take-Two says, is being made by Gearbox, giving no further details. Now, for the 2 existing franchises, they say that one is definitely WWE 2K22, which should be coming out this year. And the second one is most likely a new NBA 2K game, as the series had a consistent pattern of annual releases going back for years. So that takes care of the 2 games that we know about. That means there are 2 games coming up from new franchises that we don't know about. One of them, Gearbox. Gearbox is not afraid to do some wacky stuff if they just seem not to hit. Think Battleborn, for example.
I'm just thinking maybe they can try and avoid another Colonial Marines.
Maybe. They're saying 2 new franchises, so I don't even know if that... I think that also rules out anything licensed. So I doubt they would be able to take a property and ruin it.
I guess. I feel like it doesn't necessarily. I feel like it wouldn't be a continuation of anything they've released before.
What you can say, though, is that when they're saying that, don't expect this to be a new Borderlands, don't expect this to be Brothers in Arms, don't expect this to be Homeworld 3, Homeworld 3 active with development. Don't expect anything that we know about. It is going to be something unknown and should be revealed this year. As for that other one, who the hell knows? New franchise, Take-Two, so don't expect it to be XCOM. Don't expect it to be Bully 2. Don't expect it to be Rockstar Table Tennis. We will see maybe at E3. If it's supposed to happen this year, keep in mind, this is this year. Who knows what it might be. But
hey, man, I'm still waiting for Bully 2. What are you going to do?
We'll see if that comes out. A couple other bits. Red Dead Redemption 2, 37 million copies sold. An amazing number for Red Dead Redemption 2. It's not Grand Theft Auto numbers at 145, but damn.
But no one ever expected it to be. 37 million is a huge deal if you compare it to most video games.
I'd be very curious to know if that game actually made its money back.
I'm assuming it did.
It was so highly produced, and so much time and effort was put into that. They spent
so much money on that game because there's no systems in place. Everything was done manually. It's kind of insane, actually.
And they were clearly hoping that Red Dead Redemption 2's the Red Dead Online would take off the way GTA Online did, and it just didn't. So
it's popular. It's just not GTA Online.
That's one of those things. I have to wonder if Red Dead Redemption 2 is considered a success at 37 million copies at Take-Two or not.
Yeah. Meanwhile, there's so many companies that would be head over heels if their game shipped 37 million.
Right. One other bit, by the way, this is personal for both you and I think. Firaxis has, quote, several exciting projects that will be revealed this year. Not released this year, revealed. The reason why is that interests both of us is because for you, Civilization, Firaxis makes Civ games. You like Civ games. For me, that's XCOM, baby. Sorry, I had to take a drink. My throat's drying out. XCOM recently did Chroma Squad, which was more of a skirmish kind of based game. I did like Chroma Squad, by the way. I thought it was fun, but it's not XCOM. It's just set in the XCOM universe.
Yeah, I think Gears Tactics was the better of those two.
Oh, between Chroma Squad and Gears Tactics?
Between Chroma Squad, yeah.
Gears Tactics was definitely far more
not over
polished.
XCOM. I'm not that dumb.
That's why I paused. I was.
No. Specifically over that release. Yes, that is what I'm referring to.
I agree. From a production standpoint, Gears Tactics is way more polished. My problem with Gears Tactics, by the time I started getting to the end of that game, it really was repetitive. But
Yeah, sure.
so was Chroma Squad. What are you going to do?
Well, there you
I
go.
can guarantee you, though, that a Civ game and a XCOM game are going to be announced this year. And by guarantee, I mean I can't guarantee it at all. It's just what I wish for.
Perfect. The classic Stephen guarantee.
Right. However, it's been a long time since we've seen neither one of those two. And Civilization's now at the point where, with all the expansions, it's really good. Which means it's time to kill that game and start over again.
It's about the time to release a shitty one.
Yeah.
-1 Gaming, yes. Humankind, I am so flipping excited for.
Same here. That's Amplitude Studios, right?
That is Amplitude, yes. Yeah. That is the people that make the Endless franchise games.
Yeah, really looking forward to that. I'm kind of curious.
If you don't know anything about me, I fucking love the Endless games. Anyway, you want to move on?
Let's move on. Why don't you go ahead and take... why don't you take this one? Because I can't handle Google lying to me.
And a story from GamesIndustry.biz, Google says that Stadia is, quote, alive and well.
Why do you have to turn this podcast in a house of lies, Nate Aaron?
Developer marketing lead Nate Aaron tells GamesIndustry.biz the platform is alive and well. We're well on our way to over 100 new games launching on Stadia in 2021, and we're continuing to make Stadia a great place to play games on devices you already own, he says. I'll tell any non-believers to take notice about how we're continuing to put our words in action as we grow the Stadia Makers program and partner with AAA studios like Capcom, EA, Square Enix, Ubisoft, and others. When pressed for more information, Ahern said Google was focused on delivering value to our partners and on behalf of our players. He pointed to the release of newer titles on the platform, such as last week's Resident Evil Village, the introduction of AAA hits like Resident Evil 7 and Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order to the Stadia Pro subscription, and the ongoing addition of new features. The company introduced a search bar to Stadia. That is a new feature. You can go onto Stadia, you can search for things. Google, the company that is popular because of making a search engine, recently added the ability to search.
I didn't even fucking piece that together. I'm really upset that joke never occurred to me until just now.
You didn't get that? Yeah, that's the first... As soon as I read this is the first thing I thought about. Anyway, we pushed for more information about the recent departures, to which a spokesperson reiterated that when Google announced it was closing its studio, the company said it'd be finding new roles for as much of the SG&E team as possible. As for the 6 joined Raymond's team, Google is happy they were able to find new opportunities. So if you're not following that part, much like every other little studio, a lot of people get fired in the industry, and that is not exclusionary to Google. So,
David, Stadia might technically be alive, but it sure as fuck isn't well.
Yeah.
Stealthy Twitching Chat says here's the Atari 7800 is alive and well too. You know, I actually have an Atari 7800 like in my closet somewhere. That thing was a beast, and I don't mean powerful. I mean it's just huge.
Dude, last I checked, the NES is getting a new video game.
I didn't hear that, but I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
It's
looks great too.
I just don't believe Google when they say it's alive and well, because you know what else is alive and well? Up until the point that it wasn't? The 100 other plus products Google just cancels without any fanfare, advance warning, and even saying things like it's alive and well a week before they goddamn cancel it.
I still miss Inbox.
Do not trust anything Google says when it comes to the viability of their products, because they will lie to you to your face about everything is all right up until the point they decide that it's not.
Employees and have press releases on Twitter that are then immediately counteracted by their company's actions.
Stadia feels at this point like the Ouya. And that is not a good place to be in. But hey, please, let me know if I'm wrong. I know that there are people
If anybody that watches this show uses Stadia, please let us know.
Yeah.
Because I haven't tried it since it was Project Google or Project Stream or whatever the hell it was when it was in beta. Stream. Which was really neat, except for the fact that I went over my data cap for my internet, and then I turned it off and never looked back.
All right. This is... Yeah, let us know if you've been having a good time with Stadia. By the way, I want to make perfectly clear. I don't want Stadia to fail. I would love for something. I'd rather it be in hands of someone else other than Google, because I agree with chat. Google does some shit with your data. I'd rather not them do, but I would like to see something like that succeed. Additionally, when something fails, people lose livelihoods, and I don't want that to happen. But sometimes you just got to read the writing on the wall. And when you have a company like Google that is notorious for speaking out of both sides of their mouth,
I just hope that the Stadia team actually gets the proper support, and that if Google is releasing this kind of statement, that they actually double down and make it as good as they say it is.
You know why I'm so infuriated by this? Is because Google has enough money. They could be doing what Microsoft is doing with Game Pass. They could be doing what Epic is doing with the Epic Game Store. They can throw shit tons of money at this for a couple years at a loss, and then eventually they will have something good, and then from that point on, they can make it at a profit. But they don't. Google is, for being one of the biggest companies in the world, Google is so goddamn stingy that it is laughable. And that's what's more frustrating about this than anything else, in my opinion. But like I've said multiple times, when it comes to Google and Stadia, I have so little hands-on experience with it, I could just absolutely be in the weeds on it. I could be wrong.
Yeah, well,
I don't think I am, though.
We'll see. Time will tell.
David, I'm going to take the next two here because I'm going to leave this last story for you because it speaks directly to your heart. But the first one coming up before then, though, is via GameIndustry.biz. Ubisoft stresses it is not reducing AAA efforts. Now, last week, show you that you missed, Ubisoft kind of came out and said, hey, we're going to be scaling back our AAA releases and focus more on free-to-play offerings. And I more or less said I get why they're doing it, because look at the success of Rainbow Six. For Honor still doing decently well. Is everything all right there? You seem to be having some issues with your headset there. I think he's lost me. So I'm going to continue on going on with Adam, because we don't really need him, do we? We can watch him flounder around. Ubisoft has released a statement of clarification after executives said the company was no longer aiming to release 3 to 4 AAA games in a year in its earnings call yesterday. Our intention is to deliver a diverse lineup of games that players love across all platforms, the company said. We are excited to be investing more in free-to-play experiences. However, we want to clarify this does not mean reducing our AAA offering. David, if you can hear me, this is one of those things that a company said one thing and then went, oh shit, we need to backtrack off of that because we actually said the quiet part out loud.
Yeah, sorry, my headset died in the middle of your story.
Okay. They go on to say, our aim is to continue delivering premium experiences to players such as Far Cry 6, Rainbow Six Quarantine, Riders Republic, and Skull of Bones, a game that once again has been delayed yet again.
Dude, I don't think that game's ever coming out. Remember when Skull and Bones seemed like it was going to be competition for Sea of Thieves?
Yeah.
Sea of Thieves is in like year 2 of content at this point.
To name a few, while also expanding our free-to-play portfolio and strengthen our brands to reach even more players. Long story short, David, they came out and said, hey, we're going to focus on free-to-play games, and then they realized that did not play too well with investors, and now they're backtracking on it.
Yeah. We're still going to do the things that print the money, but we're also going to try and do the other things that print the money.
You know what I read this as more like? They're not saying that they're going to... They're still going to be doing exactly what they said last week. They're going to be reducing their output of what they would consider the AAA experience, so the Far Cry's, the Assassin's Creed's, and they're going to replace them with free-to-play experiences like the upcoming Division Heartland. But instead of calling those free-to-play and AAA, they're just calling all AAA now. Do you see how you can massage the wording to get away with doing what you were planning on to that people actively hated, but make it sound like you were doing this the entire time?
Classic.
This falls into that corporate Twitch talk, that weird doublespeak they do, where they call things... Let me give you an example I'm talking about. This is the verbal equivalent of what eBay did a few years back. eBay once used to be bright yellow on their back page. You go to ebay.com, it'd be bright yellow instead of white. Then one day, they shifted it to white and people were pissed. So what eBay did went, sorry, we hear you, we apologize, we're switching it back to yellow. Then over a course of the year, they shifted that yellow to white one hue at a time. Every week, it would shift to one hue slightly whiter. And then after a year, it was completely white and no one bitched.
No one even noticed.
That is what this
Except
is.
for that one guy that wrote an article that said, what happened to eBay?
That is what this is. This is the verbal equivalent of that, where they're trying to go, okay, wait, we said the quiet part out loud too hard.
We'll set it back to yellow.
Yeah, and then we'll
Press
slowly...
the slow to white button.
Yeah, we'll slowly roll out what we had planned for originally. So that way you don't get scared and jump out of the pot that's slowly boiling you alive.
Yep. Classic.
One quick note, by the way, we were talking about Take-Two earlier, apparently in GTA 5 and all that stuff. We finally have a release date on the PS5 and Xbox Series X upgrades that they're having. They're coming November 11th.
Hey, look at that.
There you go. That's literally that. That's why I don't expect GTA 6 anytime soon.
We had a
now
PlayStation with three Grand Theft Autos, and now we've got a Grand Theft Auto with 3 PlayStations.
We have one news story left, David. This speaks near and dear to your heart. Let's wrap things up before we get into new releases.
Completely ridiculous. This barely qualifies as news to anyone that's not me, but I'm still excited, so thank you for including me, my friend. Saints Row the Third Remastered is coming to next gen on May 25th. Saints Row the Third Remastered will be coming to Xbox Series X, S, and PS5. I fucking love Saints Row 3. I think that game's amazing. This version will be free to all current owners of the game and will allow players to experience the game running at greater performance settings equivalent to the PC edition at high settings. So if you already have it on PS4 or any of the current Xboxes, then guess what? You get your upgrade for free. Improvements made to the Xbox Series X and PS5 version include a frame rate boost to 60 FPS and dynamic 4K resolution, whilst the Xbox Series S players can choose between performance, which is 60 FPS at 1080p, and beauty, 30 FPS at 4K.
If you have not played Saints Row the Third, play it. It was the better Grand Theft Auto game that year.
Hell yeah. With still, to this day, one of my favorite video game soundtracks of all time.
That soundtrack really drives that game home, and it incorporates the soundtrack into the game, and there's...
If you wish that the Grand Theft Auto series was less serious, this is this franchise for you. The fourth one might have gone off the rails a little bit too much, but the third one is where they really leaned.
There are so many memorable moments in Saints Row the Third that I don't want to talk about them in case you haven't played it yet.
Dude, I'd love that game.
Play this game. It is great.
I'm glad you liked it too, and it's not just me just waxing.
No, Saints Row the Third is amazing. It's
such a great game.
Without spoiling, the introduction of the mailers, the introduction of the mayor is amazing.
Yes, absolutely.
The
mind-boggling when it happened.
The assault on the Saints Tower.
Fantastic.
Specifically with, once again, the soundtrack that's playing during then, because it nails the tenor perfectly.
Also, you're just basically constantly hearing Power by Kanye. That's like the go-to song for that game.
Getting your tank on.
Oh, yeah, that happens a little bit.
The chase from the BDSM hotel. And possibly one of the most amazing moments I've seen in gaming, still to this day. Just singing with your homies in the car. I'm not going to get into details about it, but you know exactly the point I'm talking about. I
do. Also, I'm pretty sure this is the game where one of the... because you can choose any voice for your character, so that I think there's 3 female voices, there's 3 male voices, and then there's a zombie voice. But one of the male voices, instead of being like male 1, male 2, male 3, is just straight Nolan North.
As Nolan North.
It's just there's voice 1, voice 2, Nolan North, and I love that. Again, this is one of 2 video games that I've completed.
Like, when you say completed, you mean like 100% top to bottom?
In its entirety, yes. This and Hades.
Hades is
so for a long time, this game stood alone.
David, if you're looking to replay this remaster, that doesn't come out until later next week. That is a long time.
So far.
I have the world's most shortest attention span when it comes to video games, so I need a steady diet of new content being fed to me every week. That's right, developers. Keep producing. Break your hands making new games so I can keep devouring them. I hunger for new content, so I need to know what is coming out this weekend that I can gorge myself upon.
Oh, you, my friend, Lee, need some new releases then. Well, I got a couple for you. One that you've already played in its entirety, but Days Gone comes out on PC this week.
I love Days Gone. I'm not gonna say it's a great game, but it is a good game.
Yeah, it's a game that you enjoyed. You had fun while playing.
I would buy a sequel to Days Gone sight unseen.
Yeah, but you're not going to get it because not enough
No.
people bought the first one at full price.
Yeah, that's kind of why I brought it up. Real salty
Uh,
about that.
that was good. Anyway, if you have no idea what Days Gone is, it is the like motorcycle-based post-apocalyptic game that released on the PS4 not too long ago. And look at that, you got a Sony game coming out to PC. Also up this week, Outbreak Endless Nightmares hits the PlayStations, the Xboxes, and Switch. This is a action roguelike survival horror game with co-op. So a co-op survival horror roguelike. Looking at this video game, it looks remarkably like a procedurally generated roguelike version of the new Resident Evils.
Yeah, I don't jive on this at all.
The
They even call
health
it
bar,
Outbreak.
when you hit the menu, the health bar is straight copped from Resident Evil. It is the the heart meter. Like
Yeah,
it's green when you're
EKG,
healthy.
the EKG
It's yellow.
meter.
It's yellow when you're less healthy. It's red when you're about to die. It is just very much.
I mean, they called
calling
it
on
Outbreak
those.
for God's sake.
Yeah, but hey, look at that. There's not a ton of co-op survival horrors right now. At least until we get what's that new Left 4 Dead game? It's not Left 4 Dead.
Back for Blood.
Yeah, that's not out anytime soon. So there you go. If you want
Sometime
a
over
co-op
the fall,
survival
I think.
horror, there you go. Take a look. Just Die Already hits PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. This is an open world adventure sandbox game from the designers of Goat Simulator. So if you remember the
Coffee
ridiculousness
Stain.
it was, you remember the ridiculousness that is Goat Simulator? Instead of goats, fill it with old people. Old people mayhem. Is how
Oh
this
my
game is
god.
described.
My
You are
interest in
old.
this game suddenly shot through the roof.
You are old and angry, and you've just been kicked out of your retirement home. How will you survive in a world that wants you to just die already? Absolutely slapstick, very much on tone and on brand. If you've played the Goat Simulator game, you're just doing ridiculous shit. It's got crazy physics. You play as there's a whole bunch of different old people you can pick, and yeah, you're just running around destroying
It
things.
actually sounds amazing. I didn't know what this was when I added to the list. I'm glad you looked it up because that might be stream bait right there, baby.
There you go. The Wild at Heart hits the Xboxes and PC. It is a story-rich action-adventure 2D game. A mysterious hidden realm, two precocious kids fleeing hardship, magical creatures, and an oddball order of guardians who have lost their way. Welcome to the Deep Woods. This very much has that Don't Starve perspective. So that kind of top-down isometric, but 2D characters on a 2D plane with a much happier tone. Not so Tim Burton-y. Very much a story-based adventure game. But that's just...
As a side tangent, are you as over with the Tim Burton look as I am?
I mean, what is there besides don't like? Are there more games that have come out recently that kind of have that?
I mean, just in general, that weird. I am kind of over like creepy aesthetic as a general rule at this point. It has been done to death.
It, I don't think I am, just because at some point there could be a project that comes along that uses that in a new or interesting way that completely blows us away. Because I was pretty over roguelikes till Hades came out. So it's just, who knows? I'm sure someone has that game that I want to play.
Let me put it this way: if I see something that looks like Tim Burton made it, it's now a negative mark.
Okay, that's fair. How about something that I am kind of sick of? I don't mean this in a degrading way, just that I'm not going to play it. Rise of the Slime hits the PlayStation's Xbox and Switch, and it is a roguelike deck builder. And in my opinion, there's been a lot of these, and I don't think it's the most fun game style. But people like it, and everyone has their own opinion. So if you need another strategic deck building adventure, you play as a slime, defying the odds by playing insanely powerful cards in this charming, relaxing, and strategic adventure.
This is a genre that has been done to death. Now, it has some great standouts. Slay the Spire, still amazing.
Yep.
Monster Train, highly recommend. Beyond that, it's everyone else trying to capture that success again. And I am just done with it.
I'm just at the point that if I wanted to play one of these, I would just play Slay the Spire.
Same here.
And so it could be fun. And if you can't get over this concept, like this genre is your current jam, then definitely take a look. I'm just not going to. Also out this week, Knockout City. It's the PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, and PC. Multiplayer action-adventure game. Team up and duke it out with rival crews in Knockout City, where epic dodgeball battles settle the score in team-based multiplayer. Throw, catch, pass, dodge, and tackle. Man, missed opportunity for dip, duck, dodge. or dip, duck, dodge. Fuck, I don't remember what it is. Do you remember Dodgeball? Do you remember that movie?
I remember Dodgeball, but I don't remember that movie at all.
Oh, damn it.
Other than the only thing I remember about Dodgeball was the amazing original ending that they cut and changed because the test audiences were so pissed off by it.
That's fair. Okay, anyway, it's a dodgeball game, 3v3 dodgeball with a lot of verticality to the levels. So to me, I was instantly thinking of like Splatoon or that kind of game where it's not full cartoony like that. It's more artistically, I guess it's more Jet Set Radio-y, but you're playing dodgeball and you're trying to hit people.
I mean, who can forget Rip Torn, right? Finest One Gaming. I do appreciate a good Rip Torn reference. By the way, that guy's name, 2 verbs. I think verbs. Maybe one's an adverb. I don't know. But no one should be named Rip and no one should be named Torn. Yet he's named them both.
Dodge, dip, duck, dive, and dodge, I think is what it is.
You said dodge twice.
Yeah, that's the point.
I know.
Also out this week, Shin Megami Tensei 3, Nocturne HD Remaster. For Switch, PlayStation, PC, this is a RPG, or a JRPG remaster of Shin Megami Tensei 3.
You know, actually, I think this comes out next week. I think I put if you notice it's only half finished, I think I forgot to delete that, but I think that's actually next week.
Well, if it's next week, then you've got to wait, my friend, but I'm already written it down, and I'm not going to talk about it again next week unless I forget, which I probably will, and we'll be back here. But anyway, it is coming soon. How's that?
Yeah, it's soon.
While that is happening. It's got remastered models, remastered backgrounds, additional difficulties. Choose between English and Japanese voiceovers, and you can suspend your save and save whenever you want, so you don't have to worry about save points.
I will give this caveat toward Nocturne. If your first experience into the Shin Megami Tensei games have been Persona 5, Persona 6, love them both. Go into Nocturne fully understanding that the difficulty to this game is going to whoop your ass. This is not an easy RPG. Grinding is required in some places. Aggressive use of enemies' weaknesses and strengths are another. You need to go into every battle thinking about what's going on, because around the corner is going to be an enemy that can one-shot your main character, and if your main character goes down, it is game over. If it follows the way original Nocturne was.
Well, that's probably why they have suspending saves, so you can save whenever you want now. You don't need a save point.
Yes, but when I originally played on PlayStation 2, I would lose hours at a time because I would get attacked by an enemy, and then they would go first and cast an instant death spell on the main character directly, and that was that.
That is insanely infuriating, and I would have never played that video game.
Yeah, so
but it's getting a remaster, so you guys can play it.
Just keep that in mind if you're going into this thinking it's going to be a happy, fun Persona experience. Just be aware. David?
Yes?
That does it for new releases, which means that does it for the show as well. This has been GamePoints episode 264, and thank you all for showing up. We do stream this live every Tuesday over at twitch.tv/GamePoints, and you too can be part of the conversation. Like Master of Trapson, Stuffy Twitchy, Finest One Gaming, Perfect Pixels was in here earlier, and to everyone else happens to be lucky, and thank you very much for showing up. If you can't join us live, however, you can always catch old episodes of the show over at youtube.com/GamePointsPC or over in the Discord. The link provided down below if you want to join that server. If you did like what you see here and you want to support the stream, there's a myriad of ways you can do it. 1, keep showing up and watching, helps more than you might think. You also got likes, follows, and notifications turned on, bits, subscribes, all that good stuff. We'll be back again next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for more in gaming. We have our E3 show coming up soon. We'll be doing our predictions based on that as well. And if you want to get your predictions for what might be going on E3, feel free to join the Discord and leave a comment in the appropriate category, probably general or any number of things. Or you can reach out to me directly on Twitter at CapitalistPig21 or David there at Palshive_Satori. Anyways, that does it for the show. Thank you all for showing up. We'll be back next week. Until then, stay safe, take care, and we're out of here.